Today, we are starting the second chapter of the first act. No, the second chapter of the second act. Ay caramba! Of the journey home. So, may this reading relax your mind and awaken your heart. On a cold December morning in Old Delhi, while planning my journey to seek the yogis and sages in the Himalayas, I happened to look up at a sign plastered on an old Victorian building. The World Yoga Conference was to be held in New Delhi, beginning that very day at 9 in the morning. Excited, I rushed to the site. A British yogi, Christopher Hills, impelled by his love for India, had organized this huge and prestigious event. The coming 4 days promised a bazaar of gurus, yogis, lamas, pundits, and sages sharing their gifts with the world. Some, after decades of seclusion in the jungles, promised to show their faces to civilization. From morning to night, darshans, or spiritual meetings, were conducted simultaneously in 7 locations. Later, I would learn that 800 yogis had assembled for the event. I couldn't believe my good fortune. On the first day, in a large tent, I met one of the greatest masters of yoga, Shri B.K.S. Iyengar. He lucidly explained the science of Hatha Yoga while his students demonstrated various asanas, or physical poses meant to harmonize body, mind, and soul. One of Shri Iyengar's students sat with his legs wrapped behind his neck. Another balanced on his forearms with his legs bowing backward, touching his head with his feet. Yet another stood motionless on his head, while another balanced on one foot, arched his back, and pulled the other foot over his head. Another yogi swallowed a long strip of cloth, then pulled it back out as an internal cleanse. Another student, to clean his sinus, fed a thin rope up through his nose and pulled it out through the mouth, pulling it back and forth. I marveled at how easily they had accomplished these practices due to their early training from an accomplished master. All the while, Shri Iyengar explained the benefits of each technique to the audience. I was deeply inspired by the conviction and compassion in which he taught. I could feel his burning desire to share the gift of yoga with all of the world. In the years to come, Shri Iyengar was to become a dear friend and well-wisher. Pardon me. As I came out of the tent, I was approached by an older man, a small, thin Buddhist monk from Southeast Asia. He had a shaved head and wore bright orange robes. Beaming with a bright smile, he introduced himself as Bhikkhu Vivekananda. He was fascinated by me, a young American seeking God, and we became close companions at the conference. Bhikkhu was the spiritual leader for thousands of monks in a monastery in Thailand. He had traveled a great distance to attend the conference. Although over 50, he was as exuberant as a teenager. He explained the Buddhist philosophy with his sweet Thai accent as we explored the yoga conference together. It was also at this conference that I first met Swami Rama, who has since become renowned as the founder of the Himalayan Institute. A towering man with a regal stride, pristine robes, and a dignified aura. He commanded awe. His eyes were deep and dark, and his head was framed by silver hair brushed straight back to his shoulders. I was eager to learn more about him, as I would be about many participants in the conference. In addition to asking his disciples to tell me about him, I read everything I could get my hands on about his background. Born in 1925 in a village in the Himalayan mountains, Swami Rama had wandered since childhood, living among rishis, or holy men in the jungles. With a booming voice, he told of how his guru had instructed him to bring the ancient wisdom of the Himalayan sages to the West. "Try your best," Swami Rama's master had told him, "but whenever you feed your ego or try to do anything selfish, you will not succeed. This is my blessing to you, that whenever you want to become selfless, loving, and without ego, you will find a great force behind you, and you will never fail to achieve some good." To exhibit the powers of yoga, Swami Rama brought several American doctors. While he entered into yogic trance, they connected his body with modern diagnostic devices. He demonstrated, among other things, that he could consciously raise the temperature of a spot on the left side of his hand 10 degrees, slow his heart rate from 74 beats per minute to 52 in just 50 seconds, produce specific brainwave patterns on demand, consciously move a physical object halfway across the room, and even stop his heart altogether. Coming out of trance, Swami Rama explained, "All of the body is in the mind. Mind over matter is developed by control of consciousness. You really do not need to know many things, but you definitely need to practice what you know." Placing his palms together, he added, "I did this not to show you that I am superhuman, but to demonstrate the science of yoga." He went on to explain that although yoga had been practiced since the most ancient times, it was the greatest of all sciences. Based neither on superstition nor sectarianism, yoga could achieve what modern scientists cannot explain. "It is," he said, "the science by which one realizes the enlightened state within." I was sincerely impressed with Swami Rama. When I appealed for his blessings, he said in his deep voice, "The foundation of your spiritual path will be to keep the company of holy people." He raised his open palm to me. "The blessings of the sages will carry you across all obstacles on the path." Each night I slept alone on the ground under a banyan tree near the conference center. In the morning I awoke to the calling of a hawk as it spread its wings from the nest overhead and soared high into the sky. While waiting for the doors to open, I meditated under that tree in the brisk Delhi air. The closing session of the conference was held in the Vigyan Bhavan, New Delhi's largest concert hall. 3,000 people assembled that evening seeking knowledge and blessings from the assembly of yogis. Christopher Hills, the organizer, reminded us of our fortune to be in one room with so many spiritual masters. Then, to our surprise, he announced that the program must conclude punctually at 7 p.m. Unbeknownst to us at the time, he had been informed that he and other swamis would be shot by fanatics at 8. But how could a program of so many swamis and yogis, especially in India, possibly end on time? When it became clear that not all would be given the chance to speak, one yogi jumped to his feet and attacked Hills with a barrage of insults. Christopher endeavored to satisfy everyone present, but an underlying tension was brewing. Minutes before 7, Christopher Hills nervously took the microphone in his hand and stood in silence for a moment before announcing that the time had come for the conference to end. A Swami began chanting the closing Om, which I knew to be a divine vibration meant to put our consciousness in harmony with God. This punctual ending outraged some of those who were deprived the chance to speak. Even while the Om was being sounded, an uproar ensued as some yogis grappled to grab the microphone. One of them got hold of the mic and rambled on like a politician with flaming eyes. Aghast, the audience watched a battle of yogis on stage. Were these the men who were supposed to bring peace and harmony to the world? Nobody knew what to say or do. Bhikkhu Vivekananda and I just shook our heads. My innocent expectations were disappointed. Finally, Christopher Hills heroically seized the microphone and wrenched the wire out of its socket. Then he disappeared behind the stage. The conference was over. After the program, in a solitary hall near the chaotic auditorium, I came upon a tall, thin man with long white hair, flowing beard, and saffron robes. A person of venerable presence who looked like an ancient sage right out of the Holy Scriptures. Swami Satchitananda welcomed me with a jolly smile and entrancing gaze. As a disciple of the famous Himalayan saint Swami Shivananda, Swami Satchitananda had taken the ancient science of yoga to the West and had followers from around the world. His interfaith work would always seek to bring people of various religions together under the oneness of the Spirit. In his first meeting with the Pope, Swami Satchitananda praised the Pope for working to unite Christians worldwide, and then quickly added, "Now, why don't you come forward to bring the whole world together? Not only Christians should come together, but all people in the name of religious harmony." An appearance at the legendary Woodstock Rock Festival had given him overnight national fame as the Woodstock Guru. The promoters of the event asked that he give the opening address, hoping he would create a peaceful mood. After being flown in by helicopter, he faced hundreds of thousands of hippies and spoke about how sound controls the universe and America leads the world. He urged the American youth to use their sound of music to create peace and joy. "Let us not fight for peace," he said, "but let us find peace within ourselves first." During the World Yoga Conference, I had carefully observed how he maintained grace and dignity through the recent chaos. Now, in a tender voice, he said to me, "I am sorry that you had to see this fighting. Please understand that each person is on his or her own level of progress. Even among practitioners, we cannot expect everyone to be perfect. If we judge each other for their faults, we fall into a trap. It will be better to put your faith in those of good character and cultivate your own yoga practice." His disposition was calm and poised, and his slow and powerful way of speaking moved me. He instructed me that we are beings of happiness, love, and light, but that we have forgotten this because we identified too much with our bodies and minds. We were fine originally and lost that fineness. That's when we became defined. The essence of yoga and religion, he said, was to enable us to align with our forgotten nature as spirit. Yoga is the process of refinement. He stressed that we overcome our mind's tendency towards self-centered concerns in order to realize our essential nature. There is only one cause for all our worries and anxieties: selfishness. The process he taught for attaining this realization of essential nature became known to the world as integral yoga. A synthesis of 6 yoga disciplines, Swami Satchitananda presented spirituality in a down-to-earth, insightful, and often humorous manner. With gratitude, I took my leave. Standing erect, the Swami spoke with a graceful wave of his slender hand. "Be sincere and disciplined in your practice. A true yogi is one who lives with the highest human conduct." He closed his eyes, took a deep breath and opened his palm to me in blessing. Richard, you have come a long way. May you discover the treasure of your heart. Let's pause our reading of The Journey Home there for now. Thank you, my dear viewers, for listening with me. May we discover, may we discover our original inner fineness. Release our self-centered tendencies. Embrace an integral yoga synthesis. Cultivate the highest human conduct and accept blessings and grace from wherever we get the chance to. If you have any insights on what we've read thus far, I open the space to explore it together.